My wife asked that I build some shelves that our cat can use to get up to this window up here. She asked for just straight shelves, but I figured that boxes would look a lot better. She could put pictures in them, or candles, or whatever. So I'm gonna build a couple of boxes. The first one will be here, and then it'll be staggered all the way up. So it'll be here, and then the top one will be level with this shelf. I've already built one thing for this room. It's sitting right over there, and so I'm going to use the same wood and stain it the exact same color so everything matches. And so hopefully he likes it and will actually use it. There you go. I'm using the exact same wood as that bar cabinet, and always start a new board with a clean edge by trimming off the end. Using the measurements that I've already figured out, I cut up the boards into the desired lengths. One of the boards I got is 5.5 inches wide and can be easily cut with one pass of the miter saw. The rest are 7.25 inches wide and have to be cut in 2 passes. In case you were wondering, this is a birch wood. I then sanded every piece that had been cut and put down a tarp after realizing that the surface of the saw was scuffing up the boards. It would be very difficult to sand the inside of the boxes after putting them together, which is why they are being sanded at this point in the process. This was also the time to sand off the labels and smooth out the sharp edges. Again, I'm building 3 shelves, so here are the pieces that I'm going to use to build it. There's still some adjustments to be made, but generally this is basically what I'm using. So there's 6 kind of rectangular, square, almost square pieces. There's 6 of them, 1 for each side. These are going to be the tops and bottoms, and then this is going to be the back. Alright, so when I put it together, it's going to look kind of like this. Now the changes that I'm going to make are that I'm going to cut a strip of this off the front, cut it off, and then I'll put a new face on it, so that way it'll be flush with the face here and flush with the top on this side. So that way there will be a lip all the way around that when I put carpet on the inside, you generally won't see it and it'll look a little bit nicer. Alright, so my next step is to just start putting it together. I decided that the best method for connecting all the pieces was with wood glue and finish nails. First, I applied a decent amount of glue and then shot in the nails. The boards are 3/4 inches thick, and so I used 1 1/4 inch nails. The top surfaces still needed to be cut, so at this point I just assembled the bottom, sides, and back. I wiped off the excess glue after the 4 boards were connected. Once one box was done, I repeated the process 2 more times. The next step was to trim and assemble the tops. With the front of the board placed in its desired spot, I marked the overhang off the back to be trimmed off. All 3 tops were marked to custom fit the box on which it would be placed. One of them even needed a little bit extra trimmed off. I then tacked in the tops using wood glue and finish nails, and used a clamp to hold it in place while getting the first few nails in. The only piece left to build was the front edge. I measured the space on both sides to ensure the right measurement, and again measured each box separately to ensure that the piece on all 3 boxes fit perfectly. Just like all the other pieces, these were sanded down before assembly. I did everything I could to make sure my cat wouldn't get a splinter from these boxes. The front edge was easy to assemble, and all 3 were done the same way. Then I sanded all the new joints and followed that with a thorough vacuuming. and an air hose helped get rid of all the dust. I tested the stain on a scrap piece of wood and compared it to the bar cabinet inside to make sure I was about to use the right stain. Once it was confirmed, I went ahead and started on the boxes. There are lots of different ways of staining, and many of them work very well. The way that I do it is to apply a hefty amount on the surface, let it sit for a little over a minute, and then wipe it off with a rag. It's worked pretty well for me so far, so I'm sticking with that. I find it very important to wear gloves during staining because if it gets in your hands, it's difficult to get off. Also, it's better not to stop the process once you start, so there's an even coat of stain on all the surfaces. When the front had dried enough to touch, I flipped them over and stained the backsides. After the stain had dried properly, I applied 2 coats of polyurethane. Now it was time to figure out mounting the boxes on the wall. There's a stud almost right in the middle of the window, so that's where the middle screw would go. 2 more screws will go 3 inches from each side. I used a punch to mark the 3 spots, then pre-drilled holes for screws, and finished it with a countersink bit. This is a countersink bit, and it's used to make room in the wood for the head of the screw. In this case, I'm using it so the screw head is almost flush with the surface of the wood. The last step before mounting the boxes was to cut and place the carpet. I thought it would be easy to cut the carpet with a scroll saw, but I was clearly wrong and switched to using a blade instead. And that worked much better. Two of the boxes have carpet that fit in the space on top because they will be flush with the wall. The box just under the window will have a slightly bigger piece of carpet because it will lay on both the box and the windowsill. The carpet is temporarily held down with double stick tape. I say temporary because it didn't adhere to the carpet. Now it's finally time to mount the boxes. The top level is flush with the surface of the windowsill and is level with the ground. Having the screws partway in the holes made it easy to hang on my own. Once the middle screw was secured in the stud, the 2 on the side were easy to screw into the wall. Next, I mounted the bottom box. Using a large square, I made sure it was directly below the top box. To figure out where the side box would go, I measured the space between the 2 boxes already mounted, subtracted the height of a box, and divided by 2. That gave me the distance between the middle and top boxes, which is the same as the distance between the middle and bottom boxes. I have to admit, it was pretty cool finally seeing the boxes up on the wall. But it wasn't done yet. I needed to secure the carpet. The tape stuck to the wood pretty well, so I put hot glue on top of the tape so the carpet would actually stick to the tape. That seemed to solve the problem. Then, to hide the screws, I put a cap on each one. And with that, it's all done. Not surprisingly, Gus showed very little interest in it at first, but with a few treats, he figured it out, and has since discovered how good of a vantage point it is. It meshes well with the rest of the living room, so if the cat didn't like it, at least my wife would. Also, the boxes can be easily taken down and put up almost anywhere, so if we change our minds, we can move them around. Or, when we ultimately move, we can take them with us and put them right back up. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.